came back. Hi, my name is Julia Kline, and thank you so much for joining me for this installment of the Sales Wounds Deep Dive. And my special guest today is Janice Means of EmbroidMe, Crystal Lake. Janice, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
The literal approach. There we go. Okay. So our intention for this afternoon, for the next 20, 30 minutes, maybe longer, that we're going to be together, is to identify Janice's primary sales wound and to help her to begin to heal it, to get insight about it, to gain understanding that will allow her to release it. And that happens because with understanding, we also get light and air into what has previously been hidden and deep and dark inside our psyche. And that not only will this be a beneficial session for Janice, but all of you who are watching will learn more about sales wounds. And if whatever sales wound we identify with Janice turns out to be your sales wound, then well, then maybe it'll benefit for you too. So with that, I also, full transparency, Janice is a client of mine. So this is not a cold conversation. I know Janice very well, as she knows me very well. And I do know a little bit about her sales wound already, and we've already talked about it. But just to dive in and see what comes up, and I've done a number of these so far, mostly with people who are already clients, who I already knew very well, and some astounding things have come out. So I fully expect that something astounding is going to happen here with you, Janice. So
I'm ready. Let's go.
Yes. So why don't you start by sharing with everybody your understanding of your primary one or two sales wounds based upon the work that you've done so far with my work.
So one of the ones that I resonated with was the anti-selling wound. It was like I read it, or when you spoke about it, I was like, oh my God, that's me. And it's not so much from how I respond to people that I actually feel it, but when I hear the word no, I take no very easily because I hate people who hard sell me. I've actually told people who have been trying to hard sell me that I was interested in their product, but they were in sell mode, to shut up. I've said, please stop talking. I have a question, and if you want me to even consider it, you need to stop talking now. So I don't want to be on the receiving end of that. So as soon as somebody backs off and says no, or I don't want to hear anymore, I'm completely, okay, it's not for you. And I don't even try to talk them, out of their objections. And even though some of the objections would be possibly very minor, I could easily probably transpose that. But depending on who it is, I just don't go there.
Okay. So that is a very common manifestation of, or symptom of, the anti-selling wound, and that fear of rejection. So a couple of things that I want to explore. So let me just kind of throw them out there, plant the seeds, and we'll go back where we need to. The first one is a kind of more logistical question, of line of inquiry, which is, at what point in the conversation do you first get the no? Or what has already happened in the conversation that has led them to say no? Or what have you tried to do in the conversation up until the point that you say something or ask something that might elicit a no answer? That's sort of the first area of inquiry. And the second area of inquiry is to go deeper into why the no bothers you. You've said it's because you don't like being hard sold, but the example that you gave was of hard selling was not when you yourself were feeling a no and the person was not allowing you to leave. The example that you gave of hard selling that you don't like is when you're actually kind of interested in the product, but the salesperson, like so many salespeople and business owners who are salespeople too, by the way, wanted to keep talking. wanted to listen to their own voice. They weren't asking you questions. They were making the classic salesperson mistake of filling most of the space with their own voice and words, rather than filling most of the space with your voice and words. So is that accurate, that when you feel hard sold to, it's because the person is talking at you rather than asking you questions, rather than the whole, you've said no and they won't let you leave?
It happens in both ways. Even when I'm interested or I've said no, it doesn't, it's happened in both cases. Or I'll say, I don't know what they're selling. I don't know. They're busy talking. And I'm like, stop. This is my question. Just answer my question. And if they keep going, I said, you know what? If you keep going, it's a no, forget it, go away. And they'll back off. So it's not that I'm really afraid of the no for fear of rejection. It's, I don't want to be perceived as that person that's like, because the no, on a lot of cases, if it's a true no, it doesn't bother me. But if they're a no because they're wishy-washy, but I've backed off, I can walk away and go, oh man, I probably should have said this, or I should have said that. But I don't want to be that person.
Okay, so sometimes people say no and you know that it really is no, but sometimes they say no and you know that it was really a maybe, or it was an, I don't really understand this whole thing, so I'm just going to say no because I'm confused and I want to walk away. And it makes you feel like, oh crap, I could have done better, but you took the no, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay, and take a moment to tell everybody what it is that you do. What is it that you're selling?
My main business is promotional marketing tools, which is logoed items like pens, mugs, apparel, rulers, whatever you want to put your logo on that you're giving away that promotes yourself.
Okay. So your customers, your clients are companies that are doing a charity golf outing and they need 75 t-shirts for every hole, or somebody who's throwing a 50th birthday party and they need a whole bunch of stuff that says happy birthday Marilyn or whatever, and a variety of things in between. But that's kind of your customer, right?
Right. Or construction, trade labor, people who have to be logoed because they're going into people's homes and into people's property, and they have to represent themselves so that people feel safe that it's that person theirs works for who they hired.
Okay, so something like almost like quasi uniforms, kind of.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, just so people have an idea what it is you're selling. Okay, so let's look at the okay, so yeah, let's look at the first area of inquiry, which is, at what point does the no come up? And I'm asking a leading question because what I'm thinking about is, have you spent the first 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever period of time, simply asking questions? And or do you have a list of questions that you need to ask and get the answers to in order to determine for yourself, first of all, if this person is a good fit for you or not, or if you can solve their problem or not?
I definitely have a list of questions, and there's probably two approaches. There's people who come in, and I'm wondering if I should just ignore them. The people who come in and say, I'm interested in this or that, and I will ask them questions, what is the event that you're using him for? What is your purpose? Basically, without saying what problem are you trying to solve, to try to figure out what problem they're trying to solve, so that I make sure that, they say, I want this pen, but they're trying to get people enticed to sign up to do something that's a bigger thing, and then they're trying to give them a 29-cent pen. So I might have the conversation, okay, take that same $300, instead of buying a bunch of 29-cent pens, why don't you buy fewer $2 pens, and saying, if you sign up, you get this really cool pen that, maybe has a light on it or a flashlight or some other kind of thing, if I know what problem they're trying to solve and what they're trying to do with that item. And so when if they get all snappy with me asking them questions, like, who do you think you are asking me questions? I'll back off from asking the questions at all. You know, it's like, okay, fine. You know, I'm not going to try to tell you how to do your business. I'll leave that go. If I'm working with somebody and I've had one-on-one conversations with them, and you know, we've presented ideas and talked about ideas, and I'll say, you know, would you like to go further with that or do that? And they'll come back and say, you know, I have to think about it. I don't know. Can you just send me a quote on that thing? If we get to that point where like we're moving into starting to do quotes, that's where it starts to get a little unsure. Like when they're in this too many ideas and they want a quote on 50 ideas, I would prefer that they would say, here's my budget and here's you know, what I'm trying to do, so that we could take the items and fit the items to the problem in the budget. But I can't always get them to tell me the budget. And so sometimes I can say to them, you know, I need to know, I know you want a mode of transportation. I don't know if you can only afford a Schwinn bicycle, a VW, or a Lexus. And so I don't spend my time pricing out Lexuses. Could you give me, you know, an idea of where you're at? And I'll get pushback there. And if they start going, I just want to see, I don't want to tell you my budget because you're going to just fit the price to the budget. And I personally, I don't do that. I look at the item and say, what, you know, can it fit in there? And here's an option that's less expensive. That, but I really think they should be a little more forthcoming with the information, but I'll take that pushback from them. I'll take that no, you know, at that point, which sometimes starts to derail the situation at that point, because if I find something really cool, but it's so outside their budget, sometimes they'll say, you know what, it costs too much, never mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, I think part of the challenge with you and your business is that a lot of the people who come to you perceive you as basically a human catalog.
Yes.
And your task is to get them to stop thinking that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically. And and a lot of what you've shared with me is, you know, around pushback, and people get snappy, and they, in other words, what I'm hearing you say, or reading between the lines, is that people don't perceive your credibility and your value as a consultant.
That's correct. Unless they've known me for a while.
Right, right. And right, they don't perceive your value as a consultant. And so they don't want to participate in the process of you helping them figure out their problem.
Right.
They think that they know more than you do. And what comes to mind as I'm talking about this is a client that I had a couple of years ago that was a nail salon. And this woman had owned, I don't know, a dozen nail salons over the course of 25 years. And she was incredibly knowledgeable about nail health and hygiene and what causes your nails to do this and what causes this to crack and the different things, and with the eyebrow waxing and with everything in a nail salon. And what her experience was that if she tried to tell a client the reason that your nail is lifting is because of blah, 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 or she tried to tell them something about their own nail care, they would snap at her and they'd be like, I don't want to hear from you, or you're wrong, or whatever. And her belief, which I think is probably pretty accurate, is because she speaks bad English. She's incredibly smart, and I shouldn't say she speaks bad English. Well, yeah, she speaks bad English. She certainly understands English very well. She can communicate very well, but you know what I'm saying. She's Vietnamese, and so basically, she said she basically attributed it to racism, and that most Americans, many Americans, are unwilling to believe that someone who has a hard time speaking English can be smart, or could know what they're talking about, or could have valuable information. Now, obviously, you speak lovely English. That's not your problem. But what I'm saying is that you and she, for different reasons, are experiencing the same issue, which is your customers don't perceive you as someone who they should trust with valuable information. And so what I advise her to do, and this is the work that I did for her, is to develop a series of brochures. So that, because we all know, this is kind of, marketing 101, that anything we read in print, our brain tends to assume is true. And so we brainstormed the top 6 nail care issues, and then we wrote a little flyer about each one of those 6 issues. And then we placed them, because you're sitting in the nail salon, and I mean, maybe you're flipping through a magazine, but you've got a little stand here with a few brochures about nail care. A bunch of people took them out. And so what she experienced by using those brochures is that when her customers read the brochure that had the information in it, then they would sometimes turn to, and they would read about a problem where, for example, your nails might be lifting and the causes could be these 3 things. At that point, they might turn to their nail tech and say, I think that my nails lift. Would it be for one of these 3 reasons? And then they're willing to believe the nail tech because they've already read it. So I'm wondering if there is any way in which you can borrow that strategy to, first of all, give yourself perceived credibility that you don't currently have. And second of all, to short circuit the process a little, because I think that some of what you do is you screw around with customers who are just wasting your time, they're treating you as a human catalog. And so, and I don't know, what's kind of coming to mind is some sort of a, wall-sized infographic about option A, option B, option C, or 3 different scenarios, 3 totally different price points, or basically walking a customer through a hypothetical decision process at 3 different price points. I don't know. Does any of that start to click any ideas in your head? Does any of that sound useful?
Yes. In the industry, there's this whole good, better, best type kind of rating system already. But sometimes customers don't get that either. The people within the industry get the whole good, better, best, and that's the Schwinn, the VW, and the Lexus. I usually, when I equate it to cars, people get it better than.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm not talking about okay, you could buy this pen or that pen or that pen. What I'm talking about is very different. I'm saying okay, let's a hypothetical situation in which you're spending $250, which is probably a low end of an order that you would take. And this is for a little birthday party or whatever. And so it's there's only just a few little bubbles, and I almost see like a flow chart kind of a thing on here. Okay, so here's the outcome. You want happy people at your party, all with a lovely memento to remember. And here's where we started from is you've got some thoughts in your head, a bunch of question marks. I don't know, what do I maybe a t-shirt, maybe a hat, maybe a squishy ball, I don't know. And then you take them through the decision-making process. One of which is, how much do you want to spend? Another one of which is, do you want quality or do you want quantity? A few things like that. And then you do a second one, which is for I don't know, let's say a $2,500 or a $5,000 purchase, something that would be kind of middle of the road. And, you know, and imagine a hypothetical situation, you know, maybe that's, you know, gift baskets for all of your best clients is a thing in that price range. And then you do a $10,000 or $15,000 scenario, which is more like, okay, now you're doing an event, you're doing a trade show booth, you're doing a big thing. And that's where you start getting into more of the marketing questions or whatever, you know, and now it becomes a fairly complex flow chart.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going,
yeah, because I do, when people come in for the birthday party, there are questions I do. I said, well, do you know, if they're thinking about t-shirts, well, do you know everybody's sizes? Well, no. Okay, then there goes X that, you know. So there are questions I ask at each of those places that I could come up with questions. Are the questions get asked every single time? No, but they do show that flow that you're looking at, as you know, as there's these things to think about and questions and whatever. So it's possible.
and so, and again, remembering that there's a two-part purpose, well, three. The first is to make you seem more credible when you now come back, because like they've educated themselves about some of the stuff, and they're like, oh, okay, so, and then when you ask them the questions, which previously just felt annoying and disruptive and invasive, now they're like, okay, so okay, you're filling in the, the flow chart questions. So that's one thing, is to give the credibility to you. The second is to help you avoid having to spend as much one-on-one time. Like you could almost, with some of them, I maybe like you've got a wall chart that hangs in your store, but then maybe you've also got like almost like a, what do you call it? Like a booklet, you know, that has the flow chart on one side and then the list of questions or fill in the blanks. Like, okay, seriously, this wasn't just like a pretty graphic, for real. Answer these freaking questions and then call me with your answers. And what you could almost say, because another thing is, because I started thinking about the concept of an initial offer and a follow-up offer, and about how, and what I was thinking about is, you know, when somebody has a walk-in or they've just called and you're taking them through the initial conversation, they've got no buy-in, they're just shopping, they're kind of just, they're pounding the phones trying to find out, like, okay, how much it cost, how much it cost, how much it cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part. And so you want to be able to give a quick answer for that, but you also want them to quote unquote opt in if they are real and they want more information from you. So your opt-in could be a fill in the appropriate freaking form, you know? And, you know, so like if you want, basically, if you want a quote from me, you know, you don't, maybe don't say this, but, you know, it takes time and effort on my part to put together a quote, and I don't do that for free. If you want me to do that, I mean, I'm not going to charge you money, but before I'm going to spend the time generating any kind of a quote for you, I want you to fill in these questions. I want you to put in some thought. And oh, by the way, if you can't figure out the answers to these questions, well, then you probably need some marketing advice, don't you? And so I'll give you my first 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. And I happen to be an MBA, you know, and so I'm actually really freaking good at this stuff. So you can book your first 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, to help you get a little bit more centered on this, fill out the form, and then we can start talking about a quote. What do you think?
I like it. I like it. I've thought about it before, and I have told people, you know, I need to know you're serious. What are you serious about? Because this does take time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I've told people that, and trying to weed out those people who are I just need to be a quote. They just need their 3 quotes, so and they already decided who they're going to buy from anyway. You know, you know, you're not paying me to do that. That's not part of my offerings, is to be your 3rd quote so you can go buy from your brother. Right.
Now here's the other thing. The people who give you pushback around a budget, my suspicion on that when you first started talking was that the people who wouldn't give you a budget are the people who aren't really buyers anyway. They don't know how much they want to spend. If they don't have any idea how much they want to spend, then that means they might not actually be getting ready to spend money. But then the second part of, as you were explaining it, you went into their reason for not wanting to talk money with you is because they don't want to be swindled. They don't want you to just give them a quote, that you, like, if I'm willing to spend 300, I don't want you to take 295. If you could have taken just 125, now that you know that I can spend 300, now you're going to take more of my money. And that, again, that objection that you said you get speaks to total lack of trust in you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand. They don't understand that you're a trustworthy and valuable partner in the decision-making process.
Yeah.
So I think this is all a really great tactical thing for you. But now I want to get it back to the issue of sales wounds and hearing no and what to do about it when you get that no. And within the context of the conversation that we've had, it sounds to me as though most of the time that you get that no, it's from somebody who doesn't trust you and or doesn't understand how valuable your counsel is. Is that true?
A high percentage of them. I'm trying to think of examples where that not the scenario, but a high percentage of them, yeah, they don't have any cause to trust me or what have you. And
so when you get the no, the no that you get is basically I don't want you to help me. I don't want you to, I don't perceive that I have a problem that you can help me solve. I perceive that I need to go shopping, and because I don't know where the online catalog is where I can do this from, unfortunately, I have to annoy myself by talking to a human that is you.
Yeah, there's a good percentage that fall in that category. There's a good percentage that fall in that category.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so I don't think that it is an example of the anti-selling wound per se. I mean, you don't like hearing the no, and when you hear the no, you say, fine, whatever. But within the context of my work, the only way to get past the no with your customer is if in fact they trust you, and if in fact you have credibility in their eyes.
For that no, yeah. For that no. That's the most annoying one. I mean, there are I'm actually trying to find scenarios where that fit the original one that I gave you, is how I feel about, you know what, you said no, that's it, that's fine. Somebody in one of my women's groups that I belong to said she wanted to talk about, she needed some pens, she wanted to talk about it, and she ended up having to cancel our meeting, and back and forth and back and forth. And lo and behold, she posts on Facebook that she bought pens from somebody else. And I was like, I didn't understand that one. And is that because I didn't pursue following up on scheduling that meeting? Did I, how did I not get that? Because obviously she wanted it and I knew about it. Did I what?
Did you ask her?
I did. I said, so what does this mean? We were going to do this. She goes, well, he was at a chamber meeting I was at, and he had the pens there, and so I bought it right there on the spot. Like, huh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you going to do,
Yeah. So, but basically it was a no to me, and I'm like, did I not follow up enough? And It doesn't seem like it, but.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you didn't follow up enough. I mean, sometimes, you know, I mean, you don't win them all. And, you know, I mean, it sounds like this was a relatively small, or as always, it's always nice to get a new customer, but, you know, and to her, it was like, I just need to get some freaking pens from somebody. And you know, and who knows on her side, if the back and forth with you felt frustrating and aggravating, it may have. It may have been to her like, oh my God, how freaking hard is it to just make a phone call to make an appointment to order some pens? She might have felt some frustration like that with you, which is why she had no qualms whatsoever about like, oh, here's a guy, great, let me just buy the pens.
Yeah.
But she may not have been feeling that with you. She may have been perfectly fine to have a conversation with you, but he just beat you to it. And, you know, she didn't, obviously didn't feel any loyalty, didn't feel like you had, you know, the two of you had developed enough of a relationship that she owed you the business. And she's like, all right, great, taking care of it, done.
Yeah.
I might go back to her if I were you and say, yeah, I get it. You know, I mean, obviously that was just really super convenient. You needed the pens and that's great. And then this is a really cheesy sounding line, so you wouldn't want to say it like this, but, you know, will you consider me the next time you need pens or any other kind of logoed merchandise?
I said something to her. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was like, her comment was, I still need lots more stuff. It's just not in the budget right now. We'll talk soon, or something like that was her response.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I do think it was kind of like an opportunity because this guy was walking around selling pens that day.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, you know, good for him for walking around at a chamber meeting with pens and order forms, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that right there is an example of, well, that's how you get some business. If you just happen to be standing there, it's like a vegetable cart on the street, you know? If you need a snack and there's a guy on the sidewalk selling an apple, well, it's not too hard to buy that, you know?
Yeah.
What I might do with her also is, you know, she said, it's not in the budget, I need more, we'll talk soon. I might have tried to pin her down to a phone conversation. You know,
I see her twice a month, so when we meet in person, I talk to her about it some more. So
yeah, okay, there you go.
So I'm hard pressed now finding an example of where I feel the anti-selling wolf. But I mean, when I read the description and I'm like, oh my God, that's me. You know, I'm like, that is me.
Yeah.
But now to find the examples, maybe I hate the feeling so much I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, for this, I mean, we're definitely past our 20-minute mark, which is way past the 10-minute mark. My illusions of having these be 10-minute deep dives was fanciful. But I think we're at least at about a half an hour right now, and so we should probably get this one wrapped up. But I think it was interesting and useful. You know, we explored, you know, some of the when rejection is not an example of the anti-selling wound, you know, and sometimes it's not, you know, sometimes the ways in which people don't succeed at selling stuff isn't because of their deep-seated limiting beliefs around sales. Sometimes it's purely logistical stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that sounds like what's the case with you, that, you know, that it's, or I should say it's even pre-sales conversation, that, you know, I think what we've identified is the main problem that you're having, at least within this one area, is that at the beginning of a conversation with you personally, people do not perceive you as someone who's valuable and credible.
Mm-hmm.
And so the low-hanging fruit, the big thing to fix, to change, to address is how to set yourself up as a reputable, credible expert before they even begin talking to you. And I think that this flowchart concept is a good one. And also because I know you like infographics. If I'm going to give you a task, you're happiest with an infographic.
Yeah, or a picture or something.
Right.
Not just words. Draw me pictures.
Right. Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, there we go. Another one bites the dust. I hope this is helpful, and I look forward to hearing what happens when you implement this and see if it doesn't, in fact, change your results. And I think also it will be very beneficial as you personally are less and less and less in the shop.
Yeah.
You're clearly the most competent, the most credible. You're not going to hire anybody that's close to as credible or as talented as you are. And so, you know, it becomes even more necessary when you've got someone who's lesser than you in the shop talking to people, for them to be pre-perceived as credible and someone that the customer should want to talk to.
Yeah. I can visualize some forms or some things to do that, and you know, answer these questions before you stand here and talk to me for 2 hours.
There you go, sister. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. All right, well, there we go. That's it. It's a wrap.
Bye.
All right. See you later. Thanks again for watching this episode of the Sales Wounds Deep Dive. And join me next time for the next one.